Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard, and thank you so much for tuning into my personal channel here at VickiDillard.tv. I'm so pleased that you are with me today, family. I want to say right off the top for this very, very brief broadcast, be sure to get your seat literally only a few days away on next Monday, September 15th. I'm going to be doing my private webinar. Beloved, you want to save your seat. We're going to make sure that we pin the link below in the comments so that you'll know exactly where to go to save your seat on Monday. Everybody knows that whenever I do my webinars, I give the best breakdown because I'm giving you not only a political insight, geopolitical insight, which is to say international, but I also give you metaphysical or spiritual insight, beloved, to let you know what the government over your head, the invisible, all-powerful government, is up to, related to this notion of this new civil war that Donald Trump is certainly overseeing. It involves multiple different peoples, but I'm going to provide you with some perspectives as to exactly why he is looking to invade DC, Chicago, and other places. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, a whole lot of moving parts, and you don't want to be out of the loop. More importantly, I also always offer solutions with connecting to the new modern Vatican, the true Holy See, which is the Vicki Dillard Mystery School, and all that I put my hands to. The link will be pinned below. Yes, again, don't miss it. Monday, September 15th. And those of you that were looking forward to my wonderful interview with my UK brother, Richard Sudan, we're going to make that happen. We had a little something come up today, which we're going to reschedule, and it's going to only be a few days away. We actually already have the date, but I'm just waiting to release it. Yes, thank you so much for your patience, family. How many of you all know it is we of the Black grassroots of the past several years that really have animated reparations talk? We're not talking about reparations groups that have existed for zillions of years and are absolutely ineffective and put no power or pressure on this notion of reparations. There are many people out there that speculatively, mentally assent to the notion that we are owed reparations, but they don't make that an actionable objective. That's when you lose me. I'm not here to be just chit chat. Talk black to me, somebody. Let me get my gavel on that. Talk black to me, somebody. Yes, your sister with the curly braids. So watch this brief clip of white supremacist Ben Shapiro, who loves Israel ostensibly more than he loves America. He's got his funny looking self here in the United States of America, but there's been some evidence that he is actually working as a sort of a de facto asset on behalf of a foreign nation, which is called Israel. Talk black to me, somebody. Well, his funny looking self went on the Breakfast Club and had this to say about reparations.
The best people at any job get ahead. Now, if you're talking about reparations,
talking to Charlemagne
at any job
about reparations.
Now,
hold on, y'all.
Where the best people at any job get ahead. Now, if you're talking about reparations for immediate past wrongs, I think it's a much easier conversation. So I think that if you're in 1968, 1970, and you're talking about what can we do to rectify the problems of Jim Crow and make it right for the people who suffered under Jim Crow, I think that's a really live and interesting conversation, and I think that it's totally worth having. I think that on a sort of public policy level, reparative policies don't tend to be nearly as effective as people want them to be, historically speaking.
I mean, for Jewish people?
In what way?
Jewish people have received reparations.
You mean Holocaust reparations, for example, from Germany? So I think that first of all, that there was like a gigantic fight actually in Israel over whether Holocaust survivors should accept reparations from Germany, because the idea was that it's allowing them to expiate their sins of the past, and they shouldn't be allowed to expiate those sins, and it's allowing them to sort of buy off the history for 50 grand or whatever it is. But that is not the reason why Israel has become successful economically. Like just on a success level, the reality is that cutting people checks rarely makes them more successful from the government. What usually makes people more successful is a determined attempt to become the things that the meritocracy demands of you. Right. So there were no long scale.
The U.S. foreign assistance for Israel has helped financially.
Well, I mean, the U.S. foreign assistance for Israel actually is a bargain for the United States because Israel doesn't need the money. I've said this before.
Well,
Israel
give it to us.
I mean,
we'll take it.
That's fine.
The Black community would gladly take
it. That's in it.
I can't speak for everybody.
It's like $3 billion a year. We should point out at this point that we spend, I think, $6 billion a year on our military bases in Japan, $5 billion a year on our military bases in Germany. We spend an awful lot of money that helps an awful lot of other countries. Israel has to spend all of that money, by the way, in the United States on military product. So all of the money that we send to it, we actually don't send money to Israel. We send military product to Israel that is made in the United States. And so it actually is a subsidy to the American defense industry. And there is a deal with Israel where Israel does intelligence sharing and also develops its own tech and can't disseminate it to the world. So for example, the helmets that our F-35 pilots use, those are Israeli developed helmets, like that we can see over the horizon, for example. That's because Israel developed technological add-ons. So the idea that this is sort of like a zero sum, the money goes out, we get nothing back, that's actually not true. You make the argument that foreign aid entirely should be zeroed out. I think that is not a particularly useful argument, just because sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Like I'm by the way, in favor of assistance to Ukraine to prevent Russia from taking over Ukraine. This represents a vanishing portion of our national budget, right? If you're going to talk about like where the actual massive spend.
Okay, enough of this. White people are working to play a mental trick on the sheep. Who in the hell does this funny looking Zionist think he is to tell us how effective reparative funds are? It is diabolical to have any conversation, dear family, with anybody about how effective giving you what you're owed and what was stolen, the effect that it's going to have on the economy if they were to make good on what they did to you. That is a clever old thief that's playing tricks on you as to why they need to keep what actually belongs to you. And you would be a fool to engage in consistent conversations with these nuts, and if you don't, without putting them in their proper place. Now, first of all, reparations is not only a moral issue, it's not only an economic issue, it's a justice issue, it's a legal issue. And if we're keeping it in terms of legality, if you were to be, God forbid, God is forbid, injured in a car accident, and you ended up being physically impaired in some way, and your car was total, and they find out, they say, okay, we owe you about $250,000 to help with your medical expenses and you to get you a new car. And let's say when it's time for them to cut you your check for $250,000 because of that, and you were wrong, let's just say you were wronged in that accident, and it's time for them to cut you your check so you can buy your medical stuff and so that you can get you a brand new car. They look in your past and say, oh, Henry was evicted 3 years ago. I don't think he knows really what to do with this money. So we're going to hold $175,000 of his money and just give him a little portion, because we're not sure he's going to do what he ought to with this money. We're not sure it's going to have a benefit on Wall Street, High Street, or Main Street if we give him his money he's due. You see how you look like a nut having that conversation? You see how dumb you look trying to go into someone's past and decide if you're going to follow what's legal and right and just. The same way, if you were to win any settlement in court, any victory in court, it does not matter what you did 2 seconds ago. That has nothing to do with the justice that you're due now. And that's the same with that. If somebody was to give me $250,000, and if I decide to go spend every dime in Vegas, guess what you get to say about it? Nothing. If I decide I'm going to the dollar store and buy $250,000 worth of candy, guess what you get to say about it? Nothing. Now, does it make sense that we as a Black community, in a secondary and tertiary manner, meaning as a secondary agenda and as a like a third and fourth agenda, to have a conversation about how we can pool some of our resources together, how to invest to ensure that we maintain economic sovereignty and success? Yes, that makes sense. But the first order of business is, ninja, you better cut me my check, fool. I'm not going to sit here and talk to no white Jews who we fought for and freeze some of y'all from Hitler, even though some of that is weird, because there was some there were Afro Germans over there too. And besides that, some of us who are foundational Black Americans went over there and got and was disrespected too. And we were disrespecting the United States over y'all. And more importantly, A lot of Jewish folks that have Jewish connections are responsible for the destruction of black folks and the oppression of black folks and Jim Crow and lynching us and all kind of rules and regulations. The disproportionate access that y'all have to Wall Street has everything to do with the wall that we built that's called Wall Street that was made by my ancestors' hands. We were the original style. Don't play with it like that. It's too many things. We'll be here all day. That's why I have to have these conversations offline. And in recent history, Ben Shapiro, and I've done multiple broadcasts on it, Judith Varney Shore, one of your high-level Israeli consuls. She had other ambassadorial envoy-type positions for the government of Israel before this one. About 4, 5, 6 years ago, she was recorded approximately in a secret video stating that the threat to Israel are Black American youth. Y'all are giving billions, hundreds of billions for the literal Nazi Ukrainians to fight an illegal proxy war against Russia. You guys are giving Nazi Ukrainians safe haven to come to the United States and to raid our Social Security and give them all kinds of tangibles. You guys are giving hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal migrants in the United States. You guys help the white Afghans, those that were spies and assets for y'all's dirty little war in Afghanistan for 20 years. You guys helped to rebuild Germany. At the outset, Hitler was committing all kinds of stuff. Y'all went over there with the Marshall Plan and used our resources, human assets and financial assets to rebuild the land that you said we should have, the World War II was fought over. And while Black Americans was being lynched in the United States, we donned the uniform and went over there to help free y'all from Hitler. And then y'all come over here and call us anti-Semitic. If you don't get your. And another thing, as a side note, I say this parenthetically. Charlemagne, the God, brings on this ultra white supremacist devil. And by the way, Charlemagne in times past has been protected by Jews. Charlemagne came out and went off on Kanye over Jews. And prominent Jewish propagandists came out and defended Charlemagne. And then I made a video go viral, had more than 1 million some views on Twitter, a couple, 2-3 years ago when he was going off on Ye. I don't need to defend Kanye on none of his stupid antics. But when Kanye is getting in the tails of the people that oppressed us, I don't need to defend Kanye. I just need to stay out the way. Go off on Kanye on everything else but that. What you look like calling, it was Charlemagne that was one of the first ones that called Kanye a Nazi. Did y'all know that? What the hell are paid Zionist Jews coming out defending Charlemagne for after Charlemagne was getting backlash a few years ago by folks like me? And I made a video go viral, 1 million some views with old footage that I pulled up from about Charlemagne saying he was scared of Jews and how powerful white Jews are. The stuff he said was 10 times truer than what Ye did. Why didn't they go off on him? The hell is really going on? And more importantly, you all should be asking Charlemagne, dogging them. Why in the hell would you bring on somebody like a Ben Shapiro? Long-term anti-Black folk. And you won't even honor and respect voices like Vicki Dillard? In fact, you promote voices that dog or disrespect me? That tells you everything you need to know. I have so much more to say about it. I'm going to be talking about the forces behind this and so much more. You all know my breakdowns are unmatched. Get your seat today for Monday, September 15th. The link is below. We'll be talking about the true, hidden, new civil war plot that Trump is involved in and so many others. But there's going to be a major twist to it. I promise you don't want to miss. There's going to be the rising, and that's what's happening now, of the true ancient Black Vatican. Yes, the Vatican, before it was taken over by these little nasty, little dirty, little you-know-whats. They actually belong to ancient Black prophetesses. And baby, we're just getting started. Save your seat today. The link is going to be pinned below. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. I can't wait to see you again.